What up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the College Chaos Podcast. I'm Garrett Ross. He's Jack Mackenzie, and we greatly appreciate all of you, whether you're live or you go on and check this out afterwards via YouTube or Spotify or whatever gets you excited for your listening possibilities as Jack is running back and forth.
Sorry, I had to turn something up on the soundboard because we're going to play that video clip.
That makes sense. I think we should probably have the
audio.
Make sure
we should
probably make
it hear
it's good.
What we're reacting to.
You know what? Like I'm and the thought that you brought that up, it made me think. I was looking out this front door a while ago, and we're lucky that they're not out here like they did yesterday with Grayson when he was trying to record. Just tearing concrete up outside the damn front door
into the concrete. I am a little nervous because we think they're installing the fiber line that we're supposed to be getting.
That's the silver lining, hopefully.
But what happens if they hit our current internet line while they're installing?
Bro, we are screwed. That happens. You just put that into the universe, and I did not want that. I don't even want to think about that, Jack.
Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff going on here at the studio, a lot of improvements trying to be made. And there are some other improvements that other people are trying to make these days, right?
Yeah, I mean...
But would everyone consider them improvements?
I don't know. So right now you have the SEC meetings taking place out in Destin. And the continual theme, it seems to be, are we going to do 8 games or are we going to do 9 games in conference? This is pretty ridiculous. Honestly, because
I'm glad we're on the same page because you're such an SEC homer that I was nervous.
I am. No, because look, I believe me and you, I don't even remember if it was on air or like just off to the side talking a few months back. And I was kind of leaning more towards 8. And the more I've thought about it, like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
it really is. You're the only conference right now who doesn't play at least 9 games. You're supposed to be the best. You are the best. So why would you even want to steer away from that? And the fact that you have this debate, and I asked you this before we went on air, because I feel like this wouldn't be such a big talking point right now if Nick Saban wouldn't have come out and had his complaints and threw his little fit about the potential 3 rivals he would see every year. And I just feel like when the puppet master gets upset, then, there's more diving into it than if, say, Mark Stoops would have said it, right? Like, there's no way Mark Stoops coming out saying this would have given the prowess that it come from Saban. And I feel like that's really what started this whole mess.
Hell, if Hugh Freeze came out and said the exact same thing, you'd be sitting there being like, shut up and win.
Exactly.
Just shut up and win. Like, prove to me that I should listen to you. So I guess me saying that says like, yeah, maybe we should listen to Saban. But like I was telling you before the show, because like we like to talk about this stuff. This is the stuff we live for. So like we're sitting there, we're not even like trying to prep for the show. We're just like, dude, can you believe this?
Yeah.
And it just comes down to, we'll get into the arguments about like, well, it's SEC games instead of playing like McNeese State or UMass, so like it should be worth more, and it's no longer a buy game, so they're already you're already like not spending money on the game. So the money of it all and the this and that, it all comes down to this one thing for me. You are the best conference. You like to tell everyone you're the best conference. You are the best coach possibly ever.
Deepest pockets.
Everyone knows it. You have the deepest pockets. It's nut up or shut up time.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
play the games or stop whining. Or better yet, do both. Play the games and stop whining.
Can you do that? Is that possible?
No. They're going to whine the whole way, but they better play the games. Because it is ridiculous on so many levels that they don't and that they won't, especially once the conference expands to 16 teams, because they're already having issues where teams they added over a decade ago haven't gone to every campus for football.
Yeah, so, and I'm glad you brought that up. So if you go to 247 Sports, you could find an article on there, and it lists the number of crossover opponents that are not permanent that Texas A&M and Missouri have played since in 11 years, okay? A&M has played Georgia once. They played Kentucky once. They played Tennessee twice. Yet, You have played Florida 4 times and Missouri 4 times. Like, you can't split that up a little bit. LSU has played Missouri twice. Bama's played them 3 times. Auburn's twice. A&M 4 times. Like, you got to be able to spread this out more. And when you add 2 more teams in, if you're only playing once in 11 years, then how often are you ever going to see Texas go to Georgia? Like, yeah. I mean, you knew what you were getting into, right? Like, I feel like the logistics of this are something that maybe got pushed to the side for some people, but like, you've got to understand when you're adding more teams and they're supposed to be the value, right? Like, they're supposed to be these marquee matchups. That's what people want to see. So
those
why are you arguing it? Like, you have to have that.
You're trying to have your cake and you eat it too. You're trying to have the easy schedule and get the money from these marquee matchups while trying to keep them from existing.
Right.
You're trying to keep your easy schedule, but get the money for having week after week of the best team playing the best team.
Right.
You can't have both. You just can't.
Another thing for me is like the whole money aspect. And I'm really, maybe I'm ignorant on this and don't really comprehend the details, but when I look at this, you have people complaining about, well, we would like to play another conference game, but we need ESPN to guarantee us more money. You're already going to save money from not playing an FCS opponent that you're going to have to pay out. So that's already like at least $1 million in your pocket that you weren't going to have. So are you wanting more on top of that? Like, that's just not good enough for you? Like, that's what I don't grasp.
It's not. Like, that part actually makes sense to me. Because say you pay, and I'm sure buy games are less than this, but say you pay the Citadel or McNeese State or whoever $500,000 to come to your place for one of those buy games. So not only are you pocketing that $500,000 because you don't have to spend it on a conference opponent, but like I find it hard to believe that it's only worth like say $500,000 to you to play like for Kentucky to play, I don't know, Arkansas.
Right.
Like, even just that middle of the road matchup, I think to ESPN, that is worth at least $1 million, right? Like,
it should be.
I don't have a good idea of the numbers. It just, there's a big swing in marketable value there. And so I can understand if the media deal was, if a move to a 9 a.m. schedule was not a part of the negotiations and it's not in the contract, then I can understand fighting to say, hey, you owe us more because we gave you more valuable inventory. I get that.
Yeah, no, I do. I understand that point too. But like, I guess what I need to know is like the gap of extra money you would get from playing. Like, is it that much more significant that you're complaining about?
I don't know, but I also think that ESPN would pay it in a heartbeat. I don't think that this is something that should hold up. Like, unless you're being so incredibly greedy with what your like the schools, the SEC are being incredibly greedy in their valuation of what that extra 8 games, because it's going to be 16 teams, but divided by 2, all playing an extra game. What 8 more games means, like if your valuation of that is crazy high over what ESPN is, that's the only thing that should hold this up. And even then, like it shouldn't be a holdup. ESPN will probably just say, here's an extra however much. They'll take it. They should be happy. The holdup, honestly, I think is the politics of it.
Absolutely.
And Greg Sankey says they've literally done the math. They've looked at the probabilities of making a bowl game, and there's only a marginal, a tiny change to how many SEC teams go bowling each year if they play an extra conference game. Not an extra game. If they finally play the 9th game.
And that's another thing. When you were saying that, because I remember Hugh Freeze made the comment about, well, what happens if you're 6-6? Well, you're just 6-6. But like, if you say you play the extra schedule, your extra conference game. Say you're Mississippi State and you replace freaking Troy on your schedule with Oklahoma. Even if you lose that game, wouldn't you get value for playing the competition level? Like, wouldn't that maybe Maybe if the bowl's on the line, that wouldn't matter because you obviously got to get. But I'm just thinking, like in a situation, like wouldn't that not necessarily negatively impact you in the long run? If say you're maybe not on the cusp of getting a bowl, but if you're a team who has the potential to make the playoff or the extended playoff, I don't think that's necessarily going to hinder you. Maybe
I think the real crux of this comes where if you're looking at it from a playoff point of view or from like a conference strength point of view, you're losing that cupcake. Oh, well, they were ranked in the middle of the season, kind of like Mississippi State got ranked, but they ended 7-5, but they were ranked there for a little while in the middle of the season. That's going to happen less often. Some of your worst conference wins are not going to look as good because teams will not be able to have that fraudulent ranking as much. But the best teams in your conference shouldn't suffer from the murkiness that creates. The best teams in your conference should be so clearly good. And I'm talking about the tier that's below the national championship.
Your Ole Misses.
Your Ole Misses, your I don't know, Arkansas when they were popping off that 1 year.
Florida.
If LSU's having a down year, Florida's not going to be back up.
Florida needs some holy water or something.
But I hope that makes sense. Is like the SEC won't necessarily be able to prop up the bottom end of their conference.
No, not at all.
But the middle to top is going to look that much better. I think everyone outside the SEC and outside of the playoff committee, frankly, has been on to how much of a fraud those like 15 to 25 ranked SEC teams have been, and you know it.
Can get
You're
clogged
an SEC
up.
guy.
It can get clogged up. I'm just saying.
You know it, Garrett.
It happens.
So you see what I'm saying is like all of a sudden those teams are going to be the ones that suffer. That's who you're going to be hearing speaking out the most about this outside of Nick Saban, who's earned the responsibility of having to beat 3 other great programs each year.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point, and I think you can look no further than Kentucky's president, and I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. Eli, the last name I will absolutely butcher. I apologize for
initial?
that. C. Capilatuo or something like that.
Eli C.
Eli C. Well, all right, so anytime somebody starts off a quote with, like, it's not all about the money.
Oh, boy,
it's definitely about it's like, no offense, but your breath smells like ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you see what I'm saying, though? It's like you know what you're saying with that. So he comes out. Well, it's not all about the money. Well, it's damn sure about the money.
It's about the money.
And then he says, as we focus more on the student athlete well-being, one has to understand the implications in the light of the new CFP format. So you're telling me it's that much more significant of player safety playing Ole Miss than playing Tulane? Like, what? Like, that's the weakest BS I've heard.
That is asinine, because you were saying this before the show, so I know you agree with me. I'm sorry, you were so on board with playing a whole ass extra game to get more of your teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
But now that you have to not play an extra game, but just play a tougher opponent in Division I football, all of a sudden you're that much worried about the injury risks?
It's a cop-out. But I think here's where
no, like, I guarantee you the data won't back that up. I guarantee you injury data will not back up that you get more injured playing an SEC team than playing a team that's worse. In fact, I'm willing to bet it might go the other way and say that when a team is like physically outmatched,
that's when you're going to get the dirty stuff. Absolutely. Look at... And this might make some new Big 12 fans base a little upset with me. Look no further than UCF and LSU with the cheap shot that sprung the greatest quarterback in LSU history, Joe freaking Burrow. Like, dude, like that's a really good point, dude, because you're going to see more dirty stuff. Just play the game.
Like,
it's not complicated.
I'm not necessarily saying I fully believe that there's more dirty stuff and there are more injuries when you play a worse opponent, but it's such BS to try and claim player safety.
Weak
After
excuse.
you're out here literally adding games to the schedule out of your greed. Like, all of this, every single aspect is just such BS.
I honestly, like, I wouldn't say necessarily agree. I get to a certain point where people from like Kentucky and Vanderbilt are coming from in this. But at the same time, you're going to have less opportunities to make bowl games.
As much as I want to see Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying you're gonna have less opportunities to make bowl games. But I think in a bigger, broader vision of this is, I think this is probably the first steps of programs who thought they had a safety net forever starting to realize that maybe that money isn't going to save you. Because if you're Kentucky or you're Mississippi State and you're in and you're out, you can't compete and you can't make a bowl game in the SEC, where then are you real, because you're going to be behind NIL. Are you going to start getting to a point where is it worth the money? Like if I'm a recruit and I'm considering, like say I'm a recruit from Missouri, okay, and I'm looking at schools to go to, and I'm thinking, okay, well, Mizzou, I'm my home state. If I wanted to keep close, I could go to Arkansas. But neither one of them are ever really going to have a chance to even make a bowl game. Or I could go to West Virginia, or I could go to Cincinnati, and I can have an opportunity where I know I'll have a easier path to go and make a bowl games or something like that.
I don't necessarily think it's the bowl game you got to be looking at. I think it's the playoff. And at the end of the day, I just think, as much as I'd love to see Vanderbilt succeed, as much as I know making a bowl game can help springboard you towards further success, I think the higher ups at the SEC know that with the expanded playoff coming, there will be further scrutiny on the resumes of those, like number 15, number 16, up to number 11, you know, because it's that much tougher to separate like 11 through 15 than it is to separate 1 through 5. And because they all have blemishes, there's so many more blemishes. You can't pick out and be like, well, this one means that much more than that one, like, because there are so many. And when you're looking at that, what's one key thing that's going to come up? They played a tougher schedule.
Exactly.
What kept Baylor out of the playoff?
Not playing a tough schedule.
Falling to Baylor, who didn't play a tough schedule.
Exactly.
You look at that. When you have to look at it from a resume standpoint, the SEC will not be able to take full advantage of the expanded playoff if every year Big Ten teams with tougher resumes, maybe not like the same record, but a better resume because they played that extra conference game, because they challenged themselves more out of conference. That's going to get those teams in. The SEC has to do this. And all these smaller programs have to realize, look, we've got to be able to get to the point where we're contending for the playoff before we really see the benefit. But that benefit means that much more.
No,
and
it
if
does.
they're on equal revenue distribution, unlike the ACC now, then that benefit's actually going to trickle down to them of having more teams in the playoff, even if it's not them.
It is, but I think also it's going to make you, as a program, not as intriguing, not as viable. Like I think you're going to get lost.
Yes.
But see, here's what I'm afraid of.
It definitely hurts them.
But here's what I'm afraid of in general. And I think, and this is what I was kind of getting at too a while ago, because I feel like the shift in college athletics right now is going to come to a point where you're not necessarily, I think what we know as conferences and conference alignments and how things are shaped are going to be blown up by dynamite, like in the next few years. I think you're going to see different tiers of sports, and I think you're going to have different branches of, like, you're going to have, well, basketball does this one thing, or you might have a basketball conference that looks different. You know, you already kind of see it like with wrestling and these other sports, but I think it's going to get to a point where in football, you're going to have this upper echelon of like 30 something teams. And then below that, you're not. Like, are you going to, I feel like if you're Kentucky or somebody like that, are you in a situation where while you've always been a part of the SEC, you find yourself in a situation where you can no longer financially compete, and then you have to exit and like it's take a step, like a different direction?
I think that's so far down the road, it doesn't really affect the 8-9 game conversation here, honestly.
It could. I just feel like
I feel like we're miles and miles away from that. So I don't necessarily understand entertaining it in this conversation.
That's fair.
Sorry to.
No, that's fair. I was just like in a broad picture.
Sense,
I feel like that's where it's coming from.
I see where you come from.
Like I feel like this is the baby steps to that.
I see where you come from. I just think at the end of the day, I don't think this creates enough disparity that you have to worry about that right now. If you're Vanderbilt, if you're Kentucky, I don't know why we keep throwing Kentucky in there. They're in a pretty solid place. I feel like
they are
terrible. It's just at the end of the day, I think for this, it's very interesting to me to see the commissioner of the league pretty clearly state
he wants
we
it.
need not just once, but I think he knows they need to go to it, and to see all the coaches push back. I don't think the ADs are going to push back as much. I think the ADs will be able to have that bigger picture idea that Sankey has.
You would hope. Like I think some of them are. Like obviously Kirby Smart. Like he had the comment about like this is the most ridiculous subject. Like when it comes to y'all writing about this, and you're reaching and everything. But as far as like coaches and different perspectives, I did want to put this out there because I thought this was absolutely hilarious. So Eli Drinkowitz, the head coach of Missouri, was asked about his thoughts on it. He said, I'm a history teacher by trade, and every time I come to these meetings, I'm blown away that the 13 colonies actually found a way to form a union. If we can't agree on 8 or 9 game schedule, how do we come together to defeat the British? Like,
does he not realize what the problem is here?
Explain it. Lay it out. Enlighten Eli what the problem was.
Eli, why did the 13 colonies band together? They had a collective hatred of some outside party, of some, I don't know, big bad, some great power that everyone was kind of tired of having to live under.
Correct.
Eli, you are part of that great power everyone's tired of living under. You guys cannot unite on this because you are Britain. You are not the 13 colonies. You are Britain.
That's refreshing.
Like, dude, come on. And just play the 9 games. Honestly, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this conversation.
You're tired of it? Let's head out west and let's talk about the potential of Colorado and the Big 12 and more smoke that seems to be coming that way. And I will let you hear from Dennis Dodd and some of his thoughts about that. That's coming up next here on the College Chaos Podcast. Welcome back into the College Chaos Podcast. Garrett Ross, Jack Mackenzie here with you, and we're going to talk about a subject that nobody can really escape from, as the Pac-12 is still trying to decide its fate, what the ultimate outcome is going to be with their TV deal. There's so many mixed opinions and just really propaganda and just complete BS out there from a lot of parties involved. But somebody who is catching flack about that, and it's really laughable, is Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports. And we've seen this, we've talked about this, how this tribal this has become between the Pac-12 and the Big 12. And when it comes to this, dude, I've tried to stay out of it and just kind of sit back, and I've really have kind of stayed pat that I thought this is going to figure itself out and the Pac-12 will stay together. And we would kind of see more in 2031, or 2035. That's kind of where I've been. But as this goes along and you're starting to hear more people like Barry Tramel, who has no stake in the game whatsoever.
He's one of those grizzled old journalists.
He's an OG.
He's a real one.
Yeah.
When he feels like I have something to publish here, I have something to run that I like. He's not someone who doesn't source his stuff well. He's not someone that runs with rumors. He's not someone that runs just to get clicks. He's a grizzled old journalist who does it the right way.
He is.
I say old in a loving way, Barry.
No, he really is. But, and I want you to hear what Dennis Dodd has to say here about what he's hearing with Colorado and where things stand right now with the Buffs' potential move to the Big 12.
Look, every day that goes by has to make the Pac-12 team more nervous, because every industry source I talk to says they don't have a linear partner. They don't have 50% linear. And they can't figure, even though they're telling people in the room, we've got a major carrier, no one in the industry can figure out what it is. So is that enough to make any of those schools nervous? And, throw in the discussion of, even if they get a deal, is it within 10% or whatever it takes of the Big 12 number? That's another thing. And then the final part is visibility. Where will it be seen? If it's too much on streaming, that could be a deal. So those factors remain.
That's kind of intriguing.
Intriguing is one word for it.
Because we hear all the time, right? ESPN has come out. There's been multiple reports on ESPN, their tier 1 rights are not going to the Pac-12. Fox is booked up. I still like the notion, and I know people might poo-poo on this. I really thought if you were able to get the CW or even TBS or something, I think that's, while it's not and never will be ABC and ESPN, I thought that would be great avenues for them. But if those type of options appear to not even exist, what do you do?
I'd like to be able to say well, maybe you do this, maybe you do that. I don't know what options are left. I honestly don't. Remember when the whole CW thing first came out? You're like, oh, wow. Okay, that's where they're at. And it feels like they've gone past the CW thing. And what is next? They need to have some kind of linear inventory, and they're just not going to get the money for it. It's a weird kind of free market experience here where your valuation is just not what people are willing to pay, but you're also not willing to drop your valuation. So is anyone going to buy it? But you can't not have people buy it. So I don't know what breaks first. Either some random freaking thing, some entity, probably not a player that we really know or would predict, antes up for what the Pac-12 wants, or they're actually just going to have to accept lower money. And I feel like we've had the same conversation so many times.
We have.
And we're not insiders. We're not guys who are sitting here thinking man, I need to hear from this source or that source. We're not the sourced guys. We're reacting, and it's just this. It feels like it's the same reaction over and over, but it just keeps we're more and more on the edge of our seats because we keep hearing guys who we do know have sources, the Barry Tramels, the Dennis Dodds, being like, Colorado's going soon.
Yeah. Well,
it's gotten that much more specific. It's narrowed down from, the Four Corners to Arizona and Colorado.
Remember when it was like Arizona first, and then now it's like they have been leapfrogged significantly.
It's Colorado now. Everyone seems to think it's Colorado now, and it sounds like it could happen. It could be happening right now for all we know.
But here's the thing to me. It's like this has all been self-inflicted. And I feel like I said this the other day because you technically do not have to have a TV deal this year. I mean, you could realistically go into it, not have something, and then just let it play out. But you've made this, and you've had so many people talking out of turn and stepping over, really out of place and things that they shouldn't be doing without unity. And it's started this freaking wildfire that's gotten out of control. And you've gotten it to where while you technically don't have to get a deal done, you've created so much impatience and uncertainty within your community that people do not trust you, and they're trying to find a way out. My question is, if you're Colorado or you're Arizona and you come to the Big 12, okay, realistically, where are you at as a football program? You're not very good, okay? So you think that just because you're coming to the Big 12 and they have linear things in place that you're still going to be put on that? Like, you really think you're going to come in and
absolutely.
jump TCU to get?
Not jump TCU, but when TCU comes to town, you're going to be playing that Pacific late night game in your time zone at home. Like, you are going to get better fan engagement because night games. Because I believe night games equal more ticket sales in my book. I think they're easier to get to. They're more fun to be at. It's easier to rebound as a program when you have more money to spend, and you're going to have more money if you come to the Big 12. And just overall, I think even if all else fails, new is exciting. And so for those first 2 years, you're going to have a bump in engagement from your fan base and from your donors, from people who think there's new opportunity here. I want to see us succeed. I think that you get a kickstart. You get a jolt of electricity and money running through your program just by changing. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed to take advantage of it, but I do think there are benefits to switching, like literally just in switching, not even in switching to massively more money or switching for the sake of this. It's just new is exciting. New engages people.
No, it does. I think you're seeing that right now with Dion coming in, right? Like that's even, I mean, I know he's polarizing himself, but it's something new, and it's provided, a sense of energy that really hasn't been there since like Cordell Stewart way back in the day, dude. But like, my thing too is like, okay, if you're Colorado and you're banking on, you got to be careful because Dion's not going to be there very long. So you need to put in a realistic perspective of what you are. My thing is like, I understand you'll probably get a couple of those night games, but I feel like more often than not, they would be placed on ESPN Plus. So I just feel like they would kind of get lost in the streaming zone regardless if they came to the Big 12 or if they stayed PAC.
I honestly think, though, that Colorado is in a truly unique position that to take full advantage, they need to come now. They need to come as soon as possible. They need to be in year 3 of Dion in their first year in the Big 12. I don't think Dion leaves before year 3. I think you get at least 1 year of Dion in the Big 12. I think Dion gets into Texas, which he wants for recruiting. I think
that's the biggest thing.
I think that Dion will keep them on linear. I think that Colorado itself, having been in the Big 12 before, creates a wave of interesting. For the first 2 years, this is the first time Colorado's been back since then. This is the first time they've been back to Colorado since then. There's that extra motivation to put them that much more on a pedestal. I think Colorado has a unique position to take advantage of that switch.
Yeah, but that's true, but that's for like one season. Like you can only ride that out
2 seasons.
You can. I think. Well, maybe if you're. I guess because your schedule and then who would come there. I guess technically, yeah, you would get 2 seasons out of it. But is that enough?
Does a coach need more than 2 seasons to turn things? Does a coach get more than 2 seasons to turn things around?
Like that's a really good question. I doubt it.
So I think the timelines honestly line up. I think what you're looking at is show improvement. Like get into the league, show improvement, and it like switching leagues is the risk you take. But at the same time, like any coach could be fired in any league, even if it's not a new league, for how good or bad they do. You're still going to make more money, and like if you're Colorado and Arizona, you're still already in a bad place as a program. Like, what is switching going to do?
Not much. I mean,
what is switching going to do to you negatively? That is what I'm really saying.
I think the only negative stuff, and I think it would be more so for Arizona than Colorado, would be like you're getting away from programs you've always known. Like I think that might be your only negative, but what benefit are you really getting right now from them? Like, especially now with US. I think that's the thing. Like with USC and UCLA gone, there's no benefit.
Yeah, I'd also say don't go too overboard on the programs you've always known. Arizona and Arizona State were not original members of the PAC.
No, I know that.
So like, I don't think the history is that deep there. Colorado clearly has deeper history with
the Big 12, yeah.
And hell, Utah, for as much as they seem to want to bootlick Stanford and Cal these days, like they've got deeper history with like TCU and
they
BYU
really do, yeah,
than with most Pac-12 schools.
That's a great point.
Like, if you can get a group of 4 of them, I don't think you have to be worried about the alienation, the feeling sectioned off, stuff that, frankly, Cincinnati and UCF probably have to be more worried about.
Yeah.
But you see how excited those schools are to be in the Big 12. And I'm just sitting here being like, yeah, it's the money. It's really just the money.
No, I think that's different.
I think Colorado can take great advantage. Great advantage. I think Arizona will love being in it for basketball. And I don't think Arizona's a football school. It's
a basketball school.
Exactly. It's not Arizona State. Arizona State could be a giant in both, honestly.
They could be a giant in everything if they get their crap together.
So you see what I'm saying? Like there's no huge expectation for, I think, either of them to be great at football. So I think they can hit the mark they need to hit if they come.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think as this goes on, I'm starting to lean more towards it's going to happen. It's just inevitable. It sucks, but that's also college athletics, right? Like changes happen. I just feel like the nature and the social media has made this seem like a bigger deal than what it really is. It's going to be intriguing regardless. I would love Colorado to come back. I think that's also kind of like, and I don't know how much crossover, if any, would be in their administration for making the decision to leave, but you would think there's some ego checking there. Like you have to swallow your, like you straight up just chuck the deuce, and now you're having to come back. But it would be intriguing regardless. And Colorado has a lot of potential. I just it's going to take some work, man.
It's going to take some work, especially for where they're at this year. But I don't know. I don't see that as a big barrier.
No, but let's get into maybe how many games Colorado might win and the rest of the Big 12. I mean, the rest of the Pac-12 as we do over-unders next here on the College Chaos Podcast. Welcome back into the College Chaos Podcast. Garrett Ross, Jack Mackenzie here with you. And we're going to put a bow on this episode as we remain in the Pac-12 and look at some of the over-unders out there. We have done this so far with the SEC. We've done this with the Big 12, the Big 10, and we're just making our rounds across the Power 5, and we're going to head out west. This has been fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you. So
I feel a lot better about my bets than your bets, but
you probably should, honestly, because I am straight ass when it comes to this.
I'm but not that good either.
No, like for real though. So I was looking before the show. This is the most difficult one out of any conference that we have come across.
I
in
wouldn't
my
be
opinion,
surprised if the ACC also was up there.
I can see that, but dude, this is and I don't know if it's like the elite quarterback play they're going to have.
Like, I don't know if it's because like down through the middle you got those quarterbacks, or like up from the bottom you're just like there are a lot of really low lines, and you're just like it's tough to think that a Power 5 school wouldn't win 3 games.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then you also, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is a conference that has 4 different round number lines.
Yeah, that was the one thing I noticed.
5 different round number lines, which means I don't think even the books know what to make of these teams. Because if you're not putting it at a half game line where you've got an actual this win total pushes, that I think that truly means you don't know what to do with them as a book. So
wild times.
Yeah, this one's going to be tough, but
you going to start us off?
No, you're going to start us off, Garrett.
All right. I'm going give me Cal under 4.5.
Cal under. Okay.
Tell
us why.
Look,
please.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be some expert on Cal Golden Bear football. But I know it's not very good. And I know that when I look at their schedule, you're definitely starting off 0-2. And a lot of people, especially on the West Coast, probably looking at me like I'm crazy when they see North Texas as game number 1.
That ain't an easy game.
Let me tell you, North Texas is damn good. They have the staff that they have been able to put together under Eric Morris, who comes over from Washington State, is phenomenal. The players they have there, and it's not like he inherited a bad roster. I mean, the previous regime had a solid thing going as well. So I think that's one where Cal is going to get beat, and a lot of people probably are going to look at that as an upset. I think if you're familiar with North Texas or this region, that's not going to be an upset. That's just my opinion. Auburn, while Auburn's trying to find itself, you're not beating Auburn. It's not happening.
Wait, where's the 5th win?
That's what. Okay, so
no. Like I think I'm agreeing with you. I'm looking through.
Yeah, there's not. Okay, so you're going to go
struggling to get to 4.
Yeah, so you're going to go 0-2. You should beat Idaho. Washington, you're going to lose. Arizona State, you're going to lose. Oregon State, you're probably going to lose. Utah, you're going to lose. You
really
know, a
rough
bye,
start to conference play,
bro. And then the back end after the bye, USC and Oregon back to back. Yeah, that's you're losing that
0-6 stretch probably.
I don't think you. All right, so right here are when you should get you possibly get your second and third wins. Would be
Washington State's no guarantee, but you should beat Stanford.
And you should beat Stanford. I know your rival, all that crap. UCLA. While they're going to be down, you're not beating the Bruins, especially as they're chunking the deuce. And they had to pay all of the beef with that, and we'll take you to court. You can't leave us behind.
Oh god.
Yeah. No.
Shoot, I wish I'd taken a closer look at Cal.
Bro, I saw that. Pick. I was like, I'm jumping on that.
Good pick. I'm with you there. I think that's probably one of the safest bets in the Pac-12. Coming back on that. I'm looking at Utah over 8.5 is probably my safest.
Oh, I stayed away from Utah. Tell us why.
Even with Cam Rising being injured.
But he'll be back by like week 3 at least.
You're supposed to be better than Florida. You're supposed to be better than Baylor.
Yes.
Look at me. Look at what I'm wearing. You're supposed to be better than Baylor. Like, I think I would know. Weber State, UCLA. Like, I don't see a way you're not starting off 4-0, or at the very worst 4-1 out adding Oregon State that 5th game.
You should, yeah.
Like, you should be 4-1. And I have to find 4 losses here for me not to win. Not losing to Cal.
No.
I think you should be clearly better than Arizona State, even by the end of the year.
This year, you should.
Arizona State at the end of the year, and then you've got Arizona and Colorado.
Like
those are both wins. So, like, what I'm looking at are Oregon State, SC, Oregon, and Washington.
Yeah.
If you lose all 4 of those, I lose the bet.
Would you?
I don't think you lose all 4 of those.
I mean, would you say Oregon State's probably the swing game?
Oregon State's the one I probably feel the best about, but it's early in the year. And I do think Cam Rising comes and knocks off one of those top 3 of SC, Oregon, and Washington. Like, it's such a well-run program. I have a lot of faith. As annoying as the fans have been through the realignment stuff, I have faith in that team and that coach and that program. They are going to get to 9 wins. I don't necessarily think they get much over 9 wins, but you're telling me the line's not at 9, the line's not at 9.5, the line's at 8.5.
Right.
I am taking Utah.
No, I like it.
They're a program I do not like to bet against.
Dude, they are so like gritty, blue collar, just nasty, dude. Like I love watching Utah. And plus they bring a lot, they recruit the hell out of Texas. So
They've
being
got some
familiar
guys. It's not like 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
No.
They've got some athletes.
They got some dogs, dude. They are so fun to watch.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm going to go, oh man, I could go with, give me UCLA under 8.5.
UCLA under 8.5. I think that's safe.
You're losing DTR. You're losing Charbonnet. And while you're good at I'm drawing a blank on the freshman quarterback. He's freaking going to be amazing. Dante Moore. Yeah. I think he's going to be really good, but there's also a learning curve. I think a lot of times we lose sight of that with young quarterbacks as a whole, because of your Trevor Lawrence's and your Johnny Manziel's. I think they made it look so easy.
He doesn't just have a learning curve. Look at their non-conference to start the year.
I know.
Coastal Carolina and San Diego State. Those are not cupcakes.
They're not.
They're not losses to be expected, but they are not cupcakes.
I feel more confident about them.
There's intrigue there. That's all I'm trying to say.
There is. Coastal Carolina's going to have a coaching change, but you have Grayson McCall back at quarterback, and I'm not going to count him out. He's a baller. But San Diego State is tricky.
San Diego State.
And it's at San Diego State.
Do they have their new stadium open this year?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that's one where they better be on upset alert, because the Aztecs right now we don't know if they're going to get that invite, right? But their name has been thrown out there. And if you have an opportunity,
that's a prove it.
That's what I'm exactly. That is
game.
a prove it game. Like, okay, cool. You're losing UCLA. Watch what we do to them. No big deal. Bring us on over. Our basketball team is about as good as theirs too. I mean, yeah.
They don't get the high profile recruits, but
I'm talking about like right now, like last year. I think
that's what I'm saying. Like last year they were better.
Exactly. So I think right there you should start off at least 2-1, because I think San Diego State might upset you. Utah, I think Utah beats them.
Yeah.
Then you headed to the bye, so you're probably 2-2 maybe heading into the bye. I think
2-2, 3-1 heading into the bye.
And so I do not think you beat. I think you beat Washington State. I don't know if you should beat Oregon State. Man, DJU could be a renaissance man.
You've got a run of really easy games there, which is why I can see why the line's as high as it is.
Yeah, but that Arizona State game too, like I'm really
there's just enough question marks around UCLA where games like Oregon State, Arizona State late in the year, but you have 3 cupcakes in a row with Stanford, Colorado, and Arizona, and then you round it out with Cal. Like, I mean, but I feel like there's 7 wins. I feel confident in giving UCLA 7 wins. I'm not gonna lie, I should have looked at their schedule more, because I think I might turn right around and say UCLA over.
Really?
I mean, I'm looking at this, man. You're telling me from end, like we're going in reverse order. You're telling me you're not going to get a Cal win. You couldn't get an Arizona State win. Arizona,
that's a
Colorado,
win.
Stanford, Washington State. I'm at 6, and I haven't gotten to the non-conference.
And that's fine. I feel comfortable giving them 7. I just am not going over 8.5.
I feel
but still their line's 8.5.
exactly, and that's comfortable giving them 8.
I don't know, dude.
I just got to 6 out of conference play.
I understand. I like I said, I feel comfortable.
6 out of conference play, and you're telling me they don't have a chance to sweep non-conference to get to 9?
They could.
Shoot.
I don't trust it. Like I'm taking the under. Feel free to take the over or whatever. I need to see it.
I might have to put that UCLA over in my back pocket because that's not what I'm going to go with here for my next pick. I'm actually going to go with the Washington State under 6.5.
Okay. I could see that.
I don't know exactly the state of the Colorado State program, but I'm looking at that Wisconsin game and I'm thinking could be a loss there in the non-conference.
That's going to be a loss.
So let's say that's a loss. They have to have 6 losses not to hit. For me to win, they have to have 6 losses. Oregon State, I'm nervous, and I don't think they win that one.
No.
That's another loss. UCLA, not feeling great. That's a toss-up if you're a Washington State fan.
True.
But I just not feeling great. We'll give them a half. We're at 2.5 losses. Oregon and Washington, we're already going to mark those off. You're at 4.5 losses now. Cal, Stanford, and Colorado, I'm sorry, you should win those.
Yeah.
You should win those. I'm looking at that Arizona State game. I'm not feeling great about it. I'm down on Washington State. I know my number's coming out right around 6 or right around 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like I see why the line's there. There's just something to me that feels like UCLA early on, I'm not liking it, especially on the road. On the road at Arizona State, I'm not liking it. On the road at Cal, like if you want Cal to have a chance, it's not going to be out in Washington. Like I feel like some of their key swing games, they're on the road for, and I don't like that for them.
That's fair.
I know this. I'm already on my second. I'm not feeling confident, but that's how tough this has been for me to pick bets. And so I'm going with Washington State under 6.5 for my second pick.
Oh, all right.
Any pushback on that? Do you think they hit the over?
I mean, they have a chance. I really like Cam Ward. I just feel like you're going to have to learn whole new systems. I feel like there's going to be so much turnover and new adjustments that I would take the under. I think they'll be okay, but I think you're definitely going to see them fall off from what they've been the past couple of years. That's fair. My final one.
Your final pick.
Oh, dude, I keep going.
Who are you picking between?
Arizona State, Oregon, and Colorado.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of options. I thought you were down to 2.
No. You know what? Give me Oregon under 9.5.
Oregon under 9.5. Damn, he took
Oregon under 9.5.
Took one of mine.
So Portland State, cool. That's a dub. I think you get beat by Texas Tech, or let's see, where's that? Yeah, you're going to Tech. Yeah, you're probably gonna get beat. That's gonna be a hell of a game, dude. Like that might be one of the best games in the nation that week. You beat Hawaii, you beat Colorado, you beat Stanford, so you're 4-1 heading into the bye. You get the dub against Washington, which that should be a fun game. Ooh, I don't know, man. That's one of those toss-ups. You beat Washington State, you beat Cal, you beat Arizona State and Oregon State. I feel like they can get at least 8 wins, maybe 8.5. I would be comfortable with. I just feel like that's such a high bar. And while you have Bo Nix back, you got to give it consideration that Kenny Dillingham is no longer there running your offense, and Matt Pallage is now in Waco running defense.
Yep.
So while you have the talent, and I know turnover, people can adapt, I just feel like that's something that's going to hinder them a little bit, and that's why I'm taking them under 9.5. Now, if it was 9, I might consider, or if it was 8.5, I would probably go over. That's a number I don't feel comfortable with.
No, I get you there. Oregon was tricky for me, but I did have them over as well. They're solid at the quarterback position.
Yep.
There's nothing that jumps out in the non-conference to me as like, oh, that's really scary. You're higher on Tech
I'm high
than
on
me,
Tech, dude.
and
Like
So I'm really sitting here being like, Oregon should be in playoff contention. Tech should be happy to be in Big 12 contention, which I don't think
Oregon's in playoff contention.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Either way, I think stuff falls right for them. They could be in playoff contention, especially since I'm saying they're going to win 10 games.
Yeah, that's cool.
Stuff falls right means they win one of those two losses.
That's cool.
That's playoff contention, bud.
That's cool, man.
So, yeah, I see what you're saying there. Got to agree. And then I've got to decide for my final pick to close out the show.
That Colorado at 3 is just screaming your name, Jack. You're going to go.
No.
You know you want that.
No. 3. I would guess Colorado to win 3, but I'm not betting on a push. I don't trust them to win 4. I don't trust them to only win 2.
I know, like
3 sounds like the right number.
Really does.
Which means the book screwed me there. And so what I'm really looking at now that I've looked closer at UCLA, it's either UCLA over 8.5 or USC over 9.5. And as much as I don't trust USC's defense,
it should be better, but no.
You want to tell me they can't outscore everyone on here? I think it's going to be a track meet with Oregon. I think they win track meet.
I think they get beat going into Notre Dame.
I think they could get beaten going into Notre Dame. I don't think they lose before that, though. Notre Dame and Utah.
Nah, they shouldn't lose before that.
Notre Dame and Utah is the scariest part of that schedule.
Back to back, too, dude.
And then Washington, Oregon back to back is not easy either. I just feel like they split both of those back to backs probably. I think they win one, lose one, win one, lose one. I think they end 10-2. I think they hit the over, and then they lose the Pac-12 championship game.
That's their most reoccurring thing.
I don't know if 10-2 even gets them
into the Pac-12 championship game. And they have freaking 2 bye weeks, too.
Yeah, I got to go with USC over 9.5.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. Honestly,
Lincoln is like 10 wins in the bag. Honestly, I feel like Lincoln every year is 10 wins in the bag.
I'm intrigued to see, like, do you think there'll be too many cooks in the kitchen with I just had his name and went blank. Cliff Kingsbury there now?
No.
Think they'll be fine. I think it's intriguing because it could either be one of the greatest ideas ever, or you could have a clash of cooks in the kitchen.
Oh, I actually don't think it's going to feel like the greatest thing ever or fall apart. I think it's going to be fairly short-lived. I think it's going to be status quo for Lincoln, and I think Cliff is going to ride off to some other program to a job that lets him do more, lets him be more himself, possibly a head coaching job somewhere. But yeah, I just think that I'm good with that pick. I'm locked in on that pick. I keep forgetting to switch the camera to see both of us.
All good.
But yeah, I don't think it's too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't think that there's going to be an issue there. I think that USC offense is going to be humming all year probably.
It will. I'm excited to see what Barry Alexander does in their defense. I know I'll keep bringing him up. I really like that. He is the most dominant high school defensive player I've ever put my eyes on in person.
They're just going to run around him.
Bro.
They're just going to run around him and pass over him, and that USC defense will get into a bunch of track meets all year.
We shall see. You want to? What do you want to leave here with? What do you want to tell the peeps to go check out?
Oh, well, number one, you got to go check out Neighborhood Watch here on Crystal Ball College Football with Josh Neighbors. He just came over from Locked On Big 12.
Homie Josh.
Killing the game, and we are so excited to have him. He releases new episodes Monday through Friday, right around 1:30, possibly 2 if there's a technical issue or just he's working on something big and wants to put a little more effort into it. So, yeah, you guys definitely got to check him out here on Crystal Ball College Football every weekday. Garrett, what's your number one plug?
I would definitely say 365 Sports in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Central Time on our 365 Sports YouTube channel. It is, especially right now with realignment and Colorado being on the fence, you are going to have the best content, and you're going to hear from some of the most knowledgeable people in the game weekly. I mean, definitely check that out, as well as make sure and check out Grayson and Craig on the Bearcast with what they do for all of your Baylor information.
Yeah. And Grayson also does some other videos here on Crystal Ball College Football. You guys should give those a look. He's definitely been diving into the realignment stuff. So I fixed stuff. Like it really, it's fun to talk about. It's fun to dream about. It's fun to just like theorize.
Yeah.
So he does plenty of that, and he does a good job of researching and staying in the know. So y'all got to give him a good look there. Otherwise, the reason why we're all here, the reason why this studio exists, Sikkim365.com.
Yes, sir.
That's our roots. That's our foundation. So please, Garrett and I both write for the site. I'm an editor. And our forums are home to a lot of good realignment discussion,
Absolutely.
a lot of people in the know. So even if you're not a fan of Baylor, we've got good information on those premium forums. So please consider subscribing to that and just give it a look. Anyway, thanks y'all for tuning in this week to the College Chaos podcast, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
We out.
Peace.